Good morning, everyone. You are very much welcome to Carnival Radio Breakfast Show. This beautiful Friday morning. This is newspaper review. I am Ibrahim Adebayo. We commence the newspaper review on Carnival Radio this morning with the headlines in the newspaper. Remain focused, discipline in fighting insecurity. Chief of Army Staff urge troops. Subsidy gains. Labour scores government low on allocation rise by 1.7 trillion naira. Education tax. Federal government ASU plans talks over removal. Nigerian police recover 3 projectiles, averts explosion in Oyo State. Federal government deficit spending rises 28% to 12.1 trillion naira. Now the news in detail. Federal government deficit spending rises 28% to 12.1 trillion naira. Deficit spending by the federal government rose by 28% year on year to 12.1 trillion naira in the first 10 months of the 2024 from 9.8 trillion naira recorded in the same period of 2023. Thus, the federal government in the first 10 months surpassed its budget 2024 deficit target of 9.8 trillion naira by 31%. The increase in deficit spending was in spite 36% year-on-year increase in federal government revenue during the period. The increase in federal government revenue was driven by a 54.5% year-on-year increase in the revenue to the federation account during the 10-month period. Analysis of the data in the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN monthly economic reports showed that revenue to the Federation accounts rose to 20.2 trillion naira in 10 months, 10.24 trillion from 13.0 trillion naira in the same period in 2023. Analysis of the fiscal activities as well of the federal government shown that in the first quarter of 2024, deficit spending stood at 4.19 trillion naira and grew by 1.9% quarters on quarters to 4.26 trillion in first quarter of 2024. The report also shown that the federal government recorded 36.6% year-on-year growth in revenue to 6.86 trillion naira in 10 months in 2024 from 5.20 trillion naira in 10 months in 2023. For more details on the news, you can visit the Vanguard newspaper. Federal government deficit spending rises 28% to 12.1 trillion naira. Subsidy gain. Labour score government low as allocation rise by 1.7 trillion naira. The handling of the federal government allocation by states governments has come under scrutiny from the Nigerian Labour Congress opposition parties and the economics as the 36 state governments got a combined allocation of 5.2 trillion naira in 2024. Economics and relevant experts express contrast view on justification for allocation fund. This scrutiny comes as President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday emphasized the critical role of state governments in driving Nigerian development and prosperity, claiming that this accounts for why 65% of the federation accounts go to states. Speaking during a New Year homage by the Nigerian Governors Forum at his Ikoyi residence, the president described their leadership at the subnational level as central to achieving food security, economic prosperity, and rapid national growth. This is just as the president expressed gratitude to the governors for their support and collaboration while highlighting key areas requiring joint efforts for the nation progress. Findings by newsmen shown that statutory allocation from the Federation Accounts Committee to the 3 tiers of government increased by 4.9 trillion to 15.12 trillion within the 12 months of 2024. The amount indicates an increase of 49.24% from 10.14 trillion naira disbursed to meet their obligations in 2023. Analysis of the monthly communique issued by the committee shown that the 36 state governments got the highest allocation of 5.2 trillion naira, representing 34.5% of 15.1 trillion total allocation to the 3 tiers of government. This was followed by the local government area with 4.97 trillion naira and the central government with a revenue allocation of 4.9 trillion naira. When compared, the states got an increase of 45.5% from 3.58 trillion naira in 2023, while allocation to the local government increased by 96% and central government by 25.6%. But if added with the local government allocation 4.95 trillion naira, the monthly increase to 10.19 trillion, indicating 67.3% of the total allocation. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee disbursed allocation from the revenue generated into the Federation accounts, which comprise multiple accounts specific to a sector or business type. The bulk of the revenue share by the FAAC meeting by the federal government, states and local governments are earning from the oil exports, taxes and other statutory allocation. Under the current revenue sharing formula, the federal government gets 52.6% of the revenue, states 26.7% and local government 20.6%. However, for the value-added tax, while the federal government gets 15% of the distributed fund, states get 50%, and the remaining 35% goes to local government council. The proposed tax bills concede 55% allocation to states while maintaining 35% to the local government council, leaving the federal government with 10%. The fund, which is arguably the major source of revenue for most states, is to ensure development at different levels of government and also to enable the states and local government to meet their obligations. For more details on the news, you can visit the Punch newspaper. Subsidy gain, Labour scores government low as allocation rise by 1.7 trillion naira. Education tax, federal government ASU plan talks over removal. The Academic Staffs Union of University has expressed strong opposition to the federal government proposed removal of education tax, describing the plan as a threat to the survival of Nigerian university. ASU National President Professor Victor Osodeke disclosed this in an interview with newsmen that the union will meet with the two Ministers of Education, Tuji Alausa and Zuwaiba Hamad, this year to address these and other pressing challenges in the education sector. He said the union had written to the Senate President, the Presidency and other key stakeholders, warning that the implementation of the tax reform bill, which include the proposed change to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, would jeopardize tertiary education. Osodeke said the plans to eliminate the education tax should not stand. We have sent a letter to the Presidency, the Senate President, and other stakeholders as regards this. The proposed Nigerian Tax Bill 2024, currently before the National Assembly, seeks to reduce TED Fund share of education tax. Under Section 59 of the bill, only 50% of the development levy will go to TED Fund, with agencies like NITSDA, NASENI, and Net Fund receive the remaining portion. By 2020, TED Fund will receive 0% of the levy, significantly reducing its capacity to fund infrastructural development, postgraduate training, and research in public tertiary institutions. ASUU has labeled the removal illegal and vowed to resist any attempt to divert fund from TET fund to other agency not recognized by the Act establishing the fund in 2011. In addition to the tax reform concerns, ASUU accused the government of failing to remove University Academy from the controversial integrated personnel and payroll information system. The union has long argued that high PPIS does not suit the unique niche of the academic environment. Osodeke said the meeting with the education ministers, though not yet scheduled, would focus on resolving challenges affecting the education sector. For over 25 years, TET Fund has been a critical source of funding to Nigerian public tertiary institutions, supporting infrastructural development, postgraduate training, and research capacity building. ASUU maintain that any reduction in TET Fund resources will undermine the progress made so far in the education sector. For more details on the news, you can visit the Punch newspaper. Education tax, federal government, ASUU, plan talks over removal. Remain focused, disciplined in fighting insecurity, Chief of Army Staff urges troops. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has praised officers and men of the Nigerian Army for their sacrifices and commitments in tackling the security challenges facing the country. The Chief of Army Staff said these in his New Year message to soldiers at a special lunch at the Brigade Tactical Headquarters in Tangina in Ravi local government area of Niger State. On New Year Day, Oluyede, who was represented by the commander of the 18th Brigade, Brigadier General Taye Ahmed, urged the troops to remain focused, disciplined, and loyal to constituted authority. The Chief of Army Staff advised the troops to maintain the spirit of patriotism and continue to give their best in the discharge of their assigned duties and responsibility. He also urged them to maintain the spirit of patriotism and continue to give their best in discharge of their assigned duty and responsibility. The Emir of Karaga, Alhaji Amadu Atairu, who was represented by the Akimi Tangina Alhaji Garba Bako, said the swift and timely responses of the troops had reduced security threats in the area. He noted that the establishment of the 18th Brigade Tactical Headquarters at Tangina had restored peace and boosted the local government economy. The chaplain of the troop prayed for the successful and prosperous year 2025. For more details on the news, you can visit the Nation newspaper. Remain focused, disciplined in fighting insecurity, Chief of Army Staff urges troops. Nigerian police recover 3 projectiles, avert explosion in Borno State. Operative of the Nigerian police in Borno State have recovered 3 projectiles and the state averting an explosion. The Command Public Relations Officer Nahum Daso, in a statement released, said the projectiles were recovered in the Dala Kamvati area of Maiduguri, the state capital. According to him, preliminary investigations further disclosed that the ordnance was dropped by unknown persons in the first flush of the morning on the same day. The police therefore sensitized community members on explosive ordnance risk awareness and safety measures. For more details on the news, you can visit the Daily Post newspaper. Nigerian police recover 3 projectiles, avert explosion in Borno State. Before we bring the newspaper review to a close, these are the headlines again. Remain focused, disciplined in fighting insecurity. Chief of Army Staff urges troops. Subsidy gains, Labour score government low as allocation rise by to 1.7 trillion naira. Education tax, federal government also plan talks over removal. Nigerian police recover 3 projectiles, avert explosion in Oyo State. Federal government deficit spending rises 28% to 12.1 trillion naira. And that ends the newspaper review on Carnival Radio Breakfast Show. This is a beautiful Friday morning. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ibrahim Adebayo. You can continue listening to us via www.carnivalmedia.ng. You can as well download the Carnival Media app from the Google Play Store and iOS App Store. Do enjoy the rest of your morning.